The country road was deserted and white-hot. A luxury sports car sat motionless on the shoulder of the highway, steam billowing from the engine. Isabella, wearing designer clothes and sunglasses, was yelling at the mechanic leaning over her car. "Do you know how late I am for my appointment? Please hurry up and don't splash my car with dirty oil." Jake worked silently, sweat pouring down his face. A little girl ran out of the garage with a bottle of water. "Daddy, drink some water." Isabella glanced at the child with annoyance, ready to tell her to move away, but her gaze fell on something, an old silver necklace around the girl's neck. Isabella froze, her hand shaking as she removed her sunglasses. She turned to look at the mechanic and wiped his forehead, finally seeing his face clearly. She whispered in horror, "Jake, and that necklace. Oh my God." Her expression instantly changed from arrogant to terrified. "Do you think she'll recognize that necklace? Or maybe she'll recognize her father. I have a feeling a huge secret is about to be revealed. Stay with me, because this meeting is going to be heartbreaking." An hour ago, Jake had a quiet morning. He was 42 years old and owned a small auto repair shop on the outskirts of town. It wasn't fancy, the building was old and needed painting, the equipment was used, but it was an honest job that allowed him to be close to his daughter, Lily, who was 7 years old. She had dark, curly hair and eyes that sparkled when she laughed. She was the center of Jake's whole world. This morning, she had helped him organize the tools in the garage. She loved being Daddy's helper, handing him wrenches and asking him a million questions about how engines worked. "Daddy, why does a car need oil?" he asked. "Because an engine has moving parts that rub against each other. Oil keeps them running so they don't break, like you put lotion on my hands when they're dry." Jake smiled just like she did. "Darling." They were about to close for lunch when a luxury car pulled into the parking lot. An elegant red Ferrari, completely out of place in this small provincial town. The driver got out first, a man in a suit, clearly a chauffeur. He looked irritated. "The engine is overheating. We need it fixed immediately." Then she came out, a woman in an expensive business suit and designer sunglasses. She was beautiful in that cool, polished way that rich people often have. Everything about her screamed money and power. She walked into the garage as if she owned it. Phone to her ear, she was engaged in a heated conversation about stock prices and merger timing. She tossed the car keys onto Jake's workbench without looking at him. "Fix it now, I'll pay double. Just don't talk to me." Jake took the keys. "The diagnostics and repair will take about 45 minutes. "I don't have 45 minutes. I have a meeting in town in 2 hours. This shortcut was supposed to save time. I'll work as quickly as possible, ma'am." She waved her hand dismissively and returned to her phone conversation. Jake opened the hood. The engine was definitely overheating. There was a leak in the cooling system. It could be fixed, but it would take time. As he worked, he heard her pacing behind him, talking on the phone in her sharp, impatient voice. "Tell them if they don't sign by 5 o'clock this evening, the deal is off." I didn't get what I got by being patient. Jake, incompetent, focused on the engine. He dealt with demanding clients, not rich people who considered mechanics beneath them. He no longer took it personally. Then something made him stop. Her voice. There was something familiar about it, a tone he recognized long ago. He glanced at the rearview mirror, angled toward the engine bay. He caught a glimpse of her face. When she turned, his heart sank. It couldn't be, but it was Isabella. 8 years later, she stood 15 feet away from him, and she had no idea who he was. Jake's hands shook. He tightened his grip on the wrench to steady them. Isabella, the woman who had left him 8 years ago when she found out she was pregnant, the woman who said a child would ruin her career, the woman who had vanished without a trace. He pulled his baseball cap lower over his face and focused on the engine. His mind raced, but his hands remained still. Years of practice. He needed to fix this car and get her out of here before she recognized him, before she saw Lily, before everything he'd built collapsed. "Are you even listening to me?" Jake realized Isabella was talking to him. "Sorry, ma'am. I'm focusing on the repair." "Well, focus faster. Do you know how much money I lose every minute I'm stuck in this backwater town?" Jake didn't answer. He just kept working. Isabella sighed dramatically. "I swear, you country mechanics have no concept of urgency." She pulled out her wallet and tossed a stack of $100 bills on the floor at Jake's feet. Additional motivation. "Now hurry." Jake stared at the money on the oil stain on the concrete. He put down his tools, picked up the bills, and carefully placed them on the workbench. I don't need any extra motivation to do my job right, ma'am. Isabella snorted. What a noble mechanic with principles. How refreshing. Jake bit his tongue. He wanted to scream at her to tell him who he was and what she had done to show her. The daughter she abandoned, but he didn't because Lily didn't know the truth. She thought her mother had died when she was a baby. It was easier than explaining that her mother had simply decided not to be a mother at all. He went back to working on the engine, replacing the damaged hose, topping off the coolant, checking for other leaks, standard procedure. But his thoughts kept returning to them. 8 years ago, they had been engaged, young, and in love, or so he thought. Jake had worked at a high-end car dealership in the city. Isabel had been climbing the ladder at a tech company, and then she had gotten pregnant. Jake was thrilled, relieved, but thrilled. He began planning their future, a small wedding, a house with a baby, learning to ride a bike. Isabella was horrified. This will ruin my career. I'm nominated for a promotion to director. I can't be pregnant right now, but we'll get through this. We're in this together. No, Jake, I won't do this. I'm not ready to be a mother. Then we'll wait. We'll survive the pregnancy, and then we'll have help. I don't want to pay for a nanny. I don't want a baby at all. This argument lasted for weeks. Jake begged him. He promised to become the primary caregiver, put his career on hold, and do whatever it took. But Isabella made her decision. She left, moved to another city for work, told Jake it was over. And 7 months later, there was a knock on the door. In the basket was a baby, a note that read, "I can't do this. She's yours. Don't look for me." And a silver chain with a heart-shaped pendant engraved with the word hope. Jake was 24, suddenly a single father with no idea what he was doing. But he figured it out. He left the city, bought a garage in a small town, and raised Lily alone. He was happy. They were happy. Now Isabella was back, not because she wanted to, not because she'd regretted her choice for 8 years, but because her expensive car broke down in the middle of the desert. How much longer? She snapped. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You said 45. That was the worst-case scenario. Simple solution. Jake lowered the hood and wiped his hands. It's fine. Isabel eyed the car suspiciously. I hope it doesn't break down again. I don't have time for this. It won't break. I guarantee my work. She got behind the wheel and started the engine. It purred perfectly. She nodded with satisfaction. Send the invoice to my assistant. She handed him a business card. Isabella Moretti, CEO of Moretti Industries. Jake took the card without looking at it. At that moment, he heard a quiet voice behind him. Daddy, Daddy, I brought you some water. Lily came running from the office where she was drawing, holding a bottle of water in her small hands. Jake's blood ran cold. Isabella glanced at the child with annoyance, ready to tell her to get out of the way. But then she saw the necklace. A silver heart with the word hope engraved hung around the little girl's neck. Isabella's face paled. The business card slipped from her fingers. She snatched off her sunglasses and stared at Jake. For the first time, she really looked at him. Jake, her voice was barely audible. And this necklace I left behind. Which means this child. She couldn't finish her sentence. She threw the money on the floor. That's so disrespectful. Jake had the patience of a saint. He knew exactly who she was, but he kept quiet to keep the peace. But such secrets don't stay buried forever. Get the tissues ready. Jake moved quickly forward, standing between Isabella and Lily, blocking her view. Lily, dear, go inside and finish your drawing. But Daddy, you need water. You've worked so hard. I'll get it. Sweetheart, please come inside. Lily looked confused, but she obeyed. She ran back to the office, the silver necklace bouncing off her chest. Isabella stood frozen in place, her mouth and eyes open, following the girl. As Lily walked away, Isabella found her voice. That necklace I left behind. With the baby, with our baby. She looked at Jake, truly seeing him. It was the face she loved now. It was older, harder, with a scar above his left eyebrow that hadn't been there before. You kept her. You raised her. Jake's voice was cold. Yes, I left our daughter. Someone had to. How did you work at the dealership? You were barely making ends meet. I quit, moved here, opened this garage, did everything that needed to be done. Jake crossed his arms. What are you doing here, Isabella? Besides car troubles. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know you were here. It was just a shortcut to get around a traffic jam on the highway. You're lucky. Isabella's hands were shaking. She looked at the office door where Lily had disappeared. What's her name? You left the necklace, but did you keep the name? I named her Lily, not Hope. Hope is what you wanted, not what she needed. She needed a father who was actually there. Tears began to well up in Isabella's eyes. The cold, polished businesswoman was cracking. I was 24, Jake. I was terrified. I had just gotten the biggest promotion of my life. I couldn't be pregnant. I couldn't be a mother. So I gave her away like she meant nothing. I left her with her father, with the one I knew would love her. That's more than most women. Do you want a medal for that? Jake's voice was rising. Now you want me to thank you for abandoning your child? I made a choice that allowed me to build an empire. I'm worth $300 million. Jake, I employ 15,000 people. I changed entire industries. And you did all this by abandoning a 7-pound baby who needed a mother. Isabella's tears streamed down her face. 8 years of suppressed guilt came pouring out. You think I don't know that? You think I don't think about her every day? I see children her age, and I count how old she is. I see mothers with their daughters, and I think about what I gave up. Why didn't you come back? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you even check to see if she was okay? Because I was a coward. Isabella's voice shook because I knew that if I saw her, I wouldn't. I couldn't leave again, but I would work too hard to ruin it all. So you chose your career over your daughter? Yes, I chose my career, and I've regretted it every day since they stood there in the hot garage. 8 years of pain and anger hung between them. Isabella wiped her eyes, her flawless makeup ruined. She looked at Jake with despair. I want to see her, really see her. I want to know her. No, tonight, Jake, please. She's my daughter too. She's my daughter. You gave up that right when you left her on my doorstep like unwanted baggage. I can give her everything. Private schools, tutors, travel opportunities you could never afford. She doesn't need your money, Isabella. She needs stability. She needs peace. She needs a parent who won't disappear when the going gets tough. I won't disappear. I've changed. I'm ready. Now you're 8 years too late. Isabella took a step toward the office. Jake blocked her path. Don't I need to see her? I need to talk to her. She deserves to know her mother. She thinks her mother is dead. That's what I told her when she was old enough to ask. It was kinder than the truth. Isabella looked like she'd been slapped. You told her I was dead. What was I supposed to say? That her mother chose the corner office over her? That she left you because you were inconvenient? How do you explain that to a 4-year-old? You could tell her I made a mistake, that I was young and scared. That's an excuse, Isabella, not a reason, and certainly not something a child can understand. Isabella's legs gave out, and she sank to her knees on the dirty garage floor. Her expensive suit was covered in oil stains. She didn't care. Please, Jake, please let me be a part of her life. I'll do anything. I'll move here. I'll quit the company. Just give me a chance. Jake looked down at her. The woman who was once the center of his world. The woman he planned to marry. The woman who broke his heart and then disappeared. You think you can just come back in 8 years with your money and your promises and your regrets? Yeah, I know I don't deserve it. But please, Isabella, she's doing just fine. She has friends at school. She helps me in the garage. She's learning to ride a bike. She has a normal, stable life. I could make her better, but you'd complicate things, confuse her. And what if your company needs you when there's a crisis, a merger, or another promotion? You'll disappear again. And this time she'll be old enough to remember what it's like to be abandoned and wonder what she did wrong. Isabella sobbed, her whole body shaking now. I'm not leaving. I swear. You can't promise me that your entire life is built on a choice you made 8 years ago. You said it yourself. You're worth $300 million. You have 15,000 employees. You can't just walk away from this. I could have for her. I could have. No, you couldn't, because if you really could, you would have done it 8 years ago. The truth of that statement hung in the air like smoke. Isabella looked at Jake through tears. What to do? Do you want something from me? Tell me what I can do to make it right. You can go, get in the car and drive away. Let's live your life. I can't do this. Not now. Not after seeing her. You have to. The office door opened. Lily looked out, holding her drawing in her arms. Dad, the woman is crying. Is she okay? Jake and Isabella turned to look at the girl. She was perfect. Dark curly hair like her mother, kind eyes like her father, a perfect combination of both. Isabella's breath caught in her throat. She was beautiful. Lily stepped closer, concerned. Are you hurt, woman? Did you fall? Isabella couldn't speak. She just looked at her daughter, the child she'd given birth to but never held, never fed, never read stories to, never put to bed. Lily looked at her father. Dad, why is this beautiful woman so sad? Jake picked Lily up and hugged her tightly. He looked at Isabella again. She's lost, and it's time she found her way home. He turned and carried Lily back to the office, closing the door firmly behind them. Isabella knelt alone on the garage floor, surrounded by the smell of oil and the sound of her own tears. She had built an empire, but she had lost a kingdom. Isabella sat on the garage floor for 10 minutes before she could move. When she finally stood, her legs were wobbly, her suit was ruined, her face a mass of tears and smeared makeup. She looked nothing like the powerful CEO who had walked in an hour ago. She walked slowly to the car. The chauffeur was waiting, looking awkward. Ma'am, are you ready to go? You'll miss the meeting. Cancel it, ma'am. The meeting is $40 million. I said cancel it. Cancel all my meetings for the rest of the week. She put the phone in the back seat and stared at the screen. She could call lawyers, fight for custody, use her money and power to force her way into Lily's life. But she knew what Jake had said was true. It would only hurt Lily, confuse her, scare her, ruin the peaceful life Jake had built for her. Isabella opened her contacts, found her assistant's number, and typed a message. Clear my schedule. I need time to think about my priorities. She looked out the window at the shabby garage. Through the office window, she saw Jake and Lily. He was showing her something in a book. They were both smiling, happy. They didn't need her anymore. Maybe they were better off without her. The driver started the car, and they drove away. Isabella glanced in the side mirror one last time. Jake left the office. He stood in the garage doorway, watching her go. Lily held his hand. Father and daughter, a complete family without her. Isabella closed her eyes and let the tears flow. She had spent 8 years building the company, climbing the corporate ladder, making deals, becoming influential, respected, and rich, and in the process, losing the most important thing she had ever had. She pulled the business card out of her pocket, the one she had tried to give Jake earlier. Isabella Moretti, CEO. She tore it in half, then in half again, and the pieces fell to the floor of the car. What's the point of being a CEO if you're not a mother? What's the point of $300 million if you're all alone in the garage? Lily tugged on Jake's hand. Daddy, why is that woman so sad? Jake knelt down to be at his daughter's level. Sometimes adults make decisions that can't be changed, and sometimes those decisions make them very sad. We should pray for her. Then Mommy in heaven would want us to pray for sad people. Jake hugged his daughter tightly. You're absolutely right. Honey, we'll pray for her. He stood and watched the red Ferrari disappear over the horizon. For 8 years he'd been angry at Isabella, worried about what she'd done, but now he felt sorry for her. She had everything the world thought mattered. I'm crying my eyes out right now. It was so intense. Isabella thought money would fix everything, but Jake showed her that love and presence are the only things that really matter. She has millions, but she lost her most precious treasure. It's a painful lesson. Cherish your family while you have it, because time is something you can never get back. Do you think Jake should have let her see Lily? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Hug your loved ones right now. Bye.